The scenes which follow are taken from a communist propaganda film, now being shown in America for the first time. This is what they are saying about you.
Peace will win against war.
Когда говорит Москва, все простые люди мира с надеждой и уважением слушают ее голос.
Moscow, the voice of the free people. People throughout the world listen when this voice speaks. But the warmongers from overseas do not agree. They want to frighten the people and force the American way of life on the rest of the world. What is this glorified so-called American way of life? Let us take a look at their cities, their recreation. This is wrestling, American style. As a signal for terrorizing honest people, these gangsters, who are spread widely throughout the United States, set fire to a cross.
This is John Daly. Those scenes came from a Russian film currently being shown behind the Iron Curtain. I would like to report to you on a serious situation facing the free world today. The situation is a paradox. America has welcomed delegations from communist countries. Russian farmers, Soviet journalists, communist smiles have made world headlines. But party chief Khrushchev, seen here complete with smile, recently said, "If anyone believes that our smiles mean abandonment of the teachings of Marx and Lenin, he deceives himself poorly." These teachings boil down to one thing: communist world domination. Lenin put it this way: "It does not matter if 3/4 of mankind is destroyed. All that counts is that the last quarter is communist." Lenin spoke without knowledge of the fantastic destructive power of the hydrogen bomb, which may, in fact, outlaw future armed conflict. But whether this is true or not, there are signs that the Kremlin is already intensifying its use of another weapon, communist propaganda, which left unchallenged could speed up their goal of world domination. We are in the midst of a continuing struggle for the minds of men. 5 nations, Poland, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Romania, and Bulgaria, were swallowed up by the communists after World War II. Hardly a shot was fired. With ruthless propaganda and clever political intrigue, the Soviets captured control of 5 free governments and sealed off 70 million people behind an Iron Curtain. Today, the Iron Curtain still stands, a physical barrier manned by armed guards, barbed wire, booby traps, an ideological barrier separating 70 million people from truth and hope and freedom. Behind this Iron Curtain, the communists set out to brainwash the people, to destroy their will to freedom, to wipe out their religion and culture. Newspapers were filled with lies and distortions, and still are. Anti-Western and anti-American cartoons. In the schools, textbooks are rewritten to tell the communist version of history, to change the meaning of words like religion and duty and democracy. 14-year-old Polish children learn from textbooks like these that American propaganda, following Hitler's example, persuades the working people that they belong to a master race and that other people must humble themselves before Americans. In movie houses, people hungry for entertainment are fed vicious propaganda.
Comrade Stalin repeatedly stated that peaceful coexistence of the Soviet Union with the capitalist countries was possible. But the warmongers from overseas do not agree. Behind the so-called Statue of Liberty, American capitalists are producing atomic bombs. These are military factories surrounded by barbed wire and guards. Strikes are on the increase. A familiar sight, surplus milk and coffee thrown away so as to keep prices high. Here the pampered dog of a millionaire. And here the unemployed stand in line to get some slop. This is the real American way of life. Today, starvation and poverty. Tomorrow, chaos.
As you have seen, reporting to the communists means distortion. But that is what people in the captive countries hear and see. And it's all they would hear and see if the free world could not pierce the Iron Curtain with words of truth. But the free world does pierce the Iron Curtain. From headquarters in Munich, a powerful radio network, Radio Free Europe, operates 29 broadcasting and relay stations in West Germany and Portugal. Broadcasts are beamed behind the Iron Curtain as many as 20 hours a day. One transmitter is 14 times as powerful as the largest station in America. It has to be powerful because the communists spend more money trying to jam reception than Radio Free Europe spends in broadcasting. To gather information for its broadcasts and to counter communist distortions, Radio Free Europe monitors 35 communist stations daily. This requires highly specialized equipment and experienced personnel. Hundreds of communist publications are analyzed. Iron Curtain refugees are interviewed. Remember, 70 million people living under communist rule rely on Radio Free Europe for the truth. Radio Free Europe gives them news about their own villages. It brings them laughter. It gives them assurance that the free world has not abandoned them. Radio Free Europe has specific broadcasts for people in all walks of life. Coordinated with broadcasts over Radio Free Europe, balloons launched by Free Europe Press carry millions of miniature newspapers into the satellite countries. At the launching site, last-minute checks are made. Weather conditions, the ingenious devices for spilling the newspapers over their targets. Prevailing westerly winds carry the balloons with amazing accuracy to populated areas. The communists have used jet fighters and anti-aircraft guns to shoot down the balloons, but the newspapers reach the ground. Even the communists can't lick gravity, and the people read them. Through letters smuggled out from behind the Iron Curtain, Free Europe Press and Radio Free Europe know that their message is getting across. The effectiveness of the broadcasts and miniature newspapers can be measured in many ways. A drastic shakeup in high Polish government circles followed a series of broadcasts by this former official in the security police who defected to the West. His disclosures of corruption in the terrorist organization resulted in an easing of police pressure on the Polish people, a victory over their Russian rulers. Strict security measures are necessary at all Radio Free Europe installations because of communist threats and actual attempts at sabotage. The truth hurts behind the Iron Curtain, and the communists want desperately to silence the truth. More than 80% of the captive people hate their puppet rulers and long for the day when they can again choose their own destinies. A few risk their lives to escape tyranny, and sometimes the despair of those still living under communist rule drives them to reckless action. Radio Free Europe does not seek to incite the people behind the Iron Curtain to revolt, but rather to sustain their courage and hope. Its message is effective because captive peoples know it has the support of the American people, donating their dollars to the Crusade for Freedom, which supports Radio Free Europe and the Free Europe Press. I would like to quote Comrade Khrushchev again. He said, "Those who wait for the Soviet Union to abandon communism must wait until a shrimp learns to whistle." Supporting Radio Free Europe is your way, a peaceful and effective way to help teach the communist shrimp to whistle. The Crusade for Freedom deserves the support of all Americans. And now, a few words from a charter member of the Crusade for Freedom, the President of the United States.
I have long given the Crusade for Freedom my strong endorsement. I did that because I am familiar with its purposes and its operations. I know the people who run it, and perhaps most important, its hard-hitting effectiveness as an independent American enterprise. I know that our country and our friends behind the Iron Curtain can count on you for active participation and leadership in this most critical of all battles, the winning of men's minds. Without this victory, we can have no other victories. By your efforts, backed up by America, we can achieve our great goal, that of enabling us and all the peoples of the world to enjoy in peace the blessings of freedom.